したいとで読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているエキスしたいとで読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているしたいとで読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直しているエキスしたいとで読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直している
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Book Club with Kate and Kelly. Today is October 18th, 2021. It's 8:15 in the morning, and we're ready to rock and roll. I don't ever come prepared with anything to say at the beginning, so it's always just a little jumbly, but I'm doing this live. I'm doing this live on Twitch and Facebook and Streamlabs OBS and YouTube. So if you are listening to this not on Monday at 8:15 a.m., then come hang out with me if you want. Send some comments, contribute to the dialogue. I love it. I get usually, if you've listened to previous episodes, you'll hear some of reoccurring names coming back to give their thoughts. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to, please, by all means. Otherwise, this is always live on, or not live, but it goes up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, because everyone uses Google Podcasts. Oh, we went to Oktoberfest yesterday. Oktoberfest was a good time. Supposedly, the Oktoberfest that happens in Germany is pretty much a giant drug fest, and everyone gets super drugged out of their minds. It's not how this one was. This one was a lot of yodeling and a lot of beer, for sure, a lot of beer. I had a schnitzel. I had a Jaeger schnitzel. It was delicious. Very authentic. From what I understand about German culture, it was a really good time. And what else did we do last week? Did an escape room. We went to this escape room in Washington Terrace. Shout out to Clue Inn Escape Rooms. We did the Shed. It was supposed to be kind of a spooky one, but it wasn't super spooky. Nothing jumps out at you, but more of a disturbing theme, I should say. And we were given 60 minutes to get out, and we got out in 90 minutes. Because the lady felt bad for us because we were struggling so bad to get out. It was way fun. Escape rooms, that was a way fun room. It's the second time I've done one of those. Besides that, we scrub bush all week. We do yoga and we lift weights. I don't really do much else. So, thanks for showing up and tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about this new book. I still love doing this, so I don't give a fuck if any of you are listening. But you know what's pretty cool is, I think I've said it before, but it's kind of discouraging to post each episode and then to look back at the viewership. The Buzzsprout domain that I use to post all the episodes gives me a total download count for each episode, and I'm not pulling in huge fat numbers. They're actually very small, and that can be discouraging. Like, that could be really why is no one listening to my podcast? But also, I don't do any advertising or marketing, and I don't share it, and I don't ask anybody to share the podcast. So whoever's listening to it, I don't know who the hell you are, but I get like the same amount of downloads each week. It's a small number. I don't want to share the number because that's not what it's all about. But but it's consistently. It's not like I get 0 downloads. I get a small amount each week. And then, the previous ones, the older episodes, get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 every now and then. So people are going back and listening. It's cool. So yeah, this whole thing, this is for me, but so there's a handful of you that are coming back each week, and I love it. I love it. So today we're going to talk about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I wanted to read about who Marcus was. So Marcus Aurelius was I'll just tell you his biography. This is a transcription by Gregory Hayes. Gregory Hayes is an associate professor of classics at the University of Virginia. This book was published, or this rendition was published. Let's see. I just barely got the book. Just barely opened it up in my mailbox. 2002. Mashed potatoes. I'm not going to say that. Just kidding. What's up, Chode? Good morning. We're talking about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. The book by Ryan Holiday that I just read, Overcoming Obstacles, or what's the How to Overcome Obstacles, whatever that one was called. He is the owner of a page on Instagram called Daily Stoic, and he posts quotes by Marcus Aurelius probably every day, several times a day, and other Stoics like Epictetus. These are, or all of the quotes I think come from this book. So, from what Google told me, this was the Gregory Hayes rendition was the best translation. And I'm kind of bummed because I just noticed that this one has an introduction to the book, gives a little explanation on Stoicism, it goes into who Marcus Aurelius was, just from thumbing through the pages a little bit. And the audiobook that I had didn't have anything like that. It just went straight into the translation, straight into the meditations. So I'll have to go back and read through this because I'd love to have a little more context to, the meditations, genre, structure, and style. From what I understand, meditations, the text by Marcus is pretty much just his journal. He was writing in his journal each day about his thoughts on everything that occurred. And Stoicism, from what I understand, Stoicism didn't necessarily exist back in the day. These early Stoics, these philosophers, pretty much established the genre of philosophy, Stoicism, just based on their branch of philosophy. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to Google the definition of Stoicism. Oh, don't want to get rid of that tab. That's important. Stoicism. I think I did this last week too, or last time. Yeah, the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. From Google. An ancient Greek school of philosophy founded at Athens by Zeno of Citium. The school taught that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge. The wise live in harmony with the divine reason, also identified with fate and providence that governs nature, and are identified to the vicissitudes of fortune and to pleasure and pain. What does vicissitudes mean? Inspect? That's not what I want to do. What did I just do to my computer? What does vicissitudes mean? Someone tell me, because I'm not going to Google it. Okay, yes, there's a lot that I don't know. It's a Greek school of philosophy. I don't know when. Anyway, yeah, this is purple, as I've totally looked at this before. Anyway, a little bit about Marcus Aurelius Antoninus succeeded his adoptive father as Emperor of Rome in AD 161, and Meditations remains one of the greatest works of spiritual and ethical reflections ever written. With a profound understanding of human behavior, Marcus provides insight, wisdom, and practical guidance on everything from living in the world to coping with adversity to interacting with others. Consequently, the Meditations have become required reading for statesmen and philosophers alike. While generations of other readers have responded to the straightforward intimacy of this style, I read that sentence wrong. In Gregory Hayes' new translation, the first in a generation, Marcus's thoughts speak with new immediacy. Never before have they been so directly and powerfully presented. Oh, vicissitude. A change of circumstances or fortune, typically one that is unwelcome or unpleasant. So, a change of circumstance or fortune. Divine reason are indifferent to the vicissitudes of fortune and pleasure, and to pleasure and pain. That's, yeah. Thank you. Still a little hazy for me. Gotta put my brain into that. Change of circumstances. It's just, yeah. Okay. Change of circumstances and fortune and pleasure and pain. Okay. All right. Whatever. Thank you. All right. So the book, that's Marcus Aurelius. He was at one point the most powerful man on the planet, being the emperor of Rome, and I think he came after Julius Caesar. I don't get it either. I think he came after Caesar. I think he mentioned Caesar actually. But he was towards the end of the if I remember, his life came towards the end of the Roman Empire. He was one of the last emperors. Whatever. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Okay, so here is the book. The book is broken up into 12 books or chapters. And it's kind of in the audiobook, it's just read straightforward, but as I thumb through it again, it's kind of broken into verses, or what was the word that what was the word that they used to describe the verses in the Yoga Sutras? Anyway, it's pretty much broken up into verses. I forgot that word too. God damn. It's all right. So, I'll just go into it. I took notes from each I just wrote down the most inspiring or the deepest ones for me, the ones that I caught. And to be honest, the first few books I was I was dissuaded to engage because it was just like the Yoga Sutras. So after I got about halfway through, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually really good," I had to start it over. Yeah, they're not listed, or they're not named the chapters, the books, but I'll just read what I wrote. I took some direct quotes. Pretty much the whole book revolves around death. And in in 100 AD, 161 AD, there was no great understanding of the sciences. There was just people lived and died, and there was religion. And I try to imagine what it would be like to live back then. I think the whole point that a lot of this meditation was to just be okay with dying. We don't know what's going to happen, and we believe in these gods, and he makes lots of references to Zeus, so the Greek gods, and he shows reverence to them, but then he's also says pain, and it's actually pretty striking how similar meditations is to the Yoga Sutras, about suffering and pain and death and oneness of mind and soul, and being able to endure all things. That's pretty crazy how tightly knit these two schools of thoughts are. So from meditations, really the overall theme is everybody's going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. And we don't really amount to anything. We think we have so much significance in our life now because we're alive and we are experiencing the world as it is. And our life is just our experiences, but in our case, there are billions of other people that are going through the exact same, not the exact same experiences, but they're all having experiences as well. And I think I've said this before too. The what's crazy to me, or what's funny to me, is there's a trend on TikTok, or there was a trend on TikTok about like who's the main character, like this person's the main character. It's a stupid trend, but it was a trend, and I think I've thought about that. I think I'm the main character of the story, because I am only experiencing my things as one person, but everybody else is also living their life, and they are their own main character. So I am my main character, and everyone else around me is a part of my plot, but to them, I'm a part of their plot. It's really weird. It's an interesting thought. We all live life. We all have experiences. We all have good and bad experiences. And to most other people, well, to everyone else, you are just a character in their story. So back to this book, he says the overall theme is everyone's going to die, and you don't hold any inherent significance as an individual, but a part of the group. We all live and die together. So part of it is uplifting each other, living for each other, and also being comfortable with your circumstances. Because when you die, you may your family may grieve for you, your loved ones will grieve for you, but then he says eventually they're going to die too. Eventually everybody dies. And there's that's the bottom line. And then eventually your name just fades into nothing. And he says, don't be afraid. You can't imagine the amount of time that's passed before your existence. You also won't be able to imagine the amount of time that will pass after your existence. So if you weren't remembered for the hundreds of thousands of years before your life, you probably won't be remembered for the next hundreds of thousands. It's deep thoughts about life, purpose of life. And even still, with I don't know how much he doesn't really go into religious thought or philosophy or teachings. He mentions reverence to Zeus and the gods and their power over the world, but he doesn't say anything about heaven, or at least I didn't catch anything about heaven or afterlife or anything like that. He really emphasized the fact that when you die on this planet, your name will just eventually be forgotten, and be comfortable with that, be happy with that. All right, so that's pretty much the theme of the book. I understand that's mostly daunting, scary, daunting thought, but I kind of like. I'm really attracted to that mindset. That there is no real inherent significance in our lives or in anything that happens, because the only way that there is significance, or to prove a significance, is to prove that there is some existential being that created us intentionally. That gives us inherent purpose or reason. As long as we're only speculating about those things, or religion and faith are just beliefs, then we can create our own purpose through our belief and through our faith. But I find comfort knowing that it's we either all have a purpose or we all don't have a purpose. And if we all don't have a purpose, the idea is we get to create our own purpose. We get to decide what's important to us and how we're going to live our lives. Because if there really is an overseeing, all-powerful being or creator, then they would have created us with an intention to do something or to accomplish something. And anyway, if that's what you believe, that will give you purpose. That's why I think religions are great in a lot of ways, because a lot of people who are purposeless, who feel hopeless, can find hope and find purpose through religion. So I took a quote from book 2. Marcus said, "Since all things in life, including life, come to an end, let philosophy be your principal guide." I'm telling you, it's pretty much all about death. I said, "Wait for death cheerfully, for death is natural, and all things that are natural are good." Oh no, that's what Marcus said. I didn't say that. Wait for death cheerfully. Death is natural, and all things that are natural are good. From book 4, I wrote, "Men do wrong involuntarily. Rational animals are to tolerate them, for this is a part of justice." Yeah, then I thought about how maybe they do, and I don't know this because I'm a nitwit, but I don't think animals hold grudges against each other. I do know that animals get mad and they've experienced emotions, but I think about when my brothers lived here and we had all of the dogs together. We had 3 dogs here at one time, and the little Schnauzer was the protector of these 2 labs because he just took it upon himself, this little rat of a dog that I love so much. And anytime a strange person or a strange dog would approach the labs, Bailey would get super defensive. And then he would do alpha male stuff, like bite their ears and their hind legs and stuff. Bailey was a savage. But what I'm saying, anytime Bailey got mad at the dogs or mad at people or other animals, I never. It doesn't seem like animals hold a grudge. They probably just learn that Bailey's kind of a dickhead, or he's super aggressive, and so whatever. But I don't know. Do animals hold grudges? Like, do they wallow and think about how one of the animals in the house has wronged them, or shit in their corner, or took their toy? Like, yeah, like if Bailey were to steal their toys, it's not like Dixie would doesn't want to talk to Bailey anymore. She gets pissed and wants the toy back, but once I take the toy away, and then they're friends again. I don't know. Humans hold grudges. That's what I'm trying to say. Humans hold grudges because of our deep intellect, but it doesn't serve us in any way to hold grudges. But it does serve us to learn about qualities of other people. So when Marcus says men do wrong involuntarily, that's also a recurring theme. Since all people are made, we're all conceived the same way through nature from our mothers, and therefore we're natural, and all natural things are good. That's another theme. All natural things that occur or that are inherently good, and a person cannot do wrong intentionally, or maybe that's not the right way to say it. All wrongdoing is involuntary. And anyway, it's good to. I actually don't really know where I'm going with this thought. Maybe just don't hold grudges, because grudges don't serve us. But learn character judgments of other people. From book 4, he also says, "Possessions cannot touch the soul." Possessions do not make us happy, but the emotional attachment to these items. This is another connection to the Yoga Sutras. We need to deny cravings for all possessions that are not necessary to sustain life. Deeper happiness, independence, and freedom comes from craving very little or very few things. Deeper happiness, independence, and true freedom comes from craving very little or needing very little. Do not hold value to life. Look at the amount of time that has passed and look at the time ahead of you. Then he says, what is the difference between living 3 more days and living 3 more generations? Yeah. Don't be afraid to die. Memento. No, that's not. Oh, shit. What's the phrase? Meditate on your mortality. Shit, there's a phrase for it. Memento mort. Fuck. God damn it. It's so good, too. meditate on your death. Don't be afraid to die. That's the philosophy. If you're gonna, what difference does it make from living one more day or 10 more days or 10 more years or 100 more years? Because eventually you still will die. So if you're going to die tomorrow or you're going to die in 100 years, you should still be a good person and do the things that are most important to you. Boom. Memento Mori. Is it Memento Mori? Son of a bitch. I got to Google this too. Yeah. Yeah, Memento Mori. I had it. Oh. Memento Mori is an artistic or symbolic trope acting as a reminder of the inevitability. Am I saying that right? Of death. The concept has its roots in the philosophers of classic antiquity and Christianity, and appeared in funerary art and architecture from the medieval period onwards. Memento Mori. All right, I'm going to keep going. Book 5. Mash Bejedo says, Memento Mori would be a great name for a boy. It's MEMENTO. Memento. Memento Mori. It's also 2 words. Memento space MORI. So, meditate on your death, Langston. There you go. Book 5. All animals wake up each day and have to work. Wake up each day ready to work and love it, for work is at the center of human nature. This is an interesting too, of being an emperor, being the most powerful man on the planet at the time. He talks about how waking up, again, this is just him writing in a journal. He says, sometimes I wake up and it's cold outside and I'm under my blankets and I don't want to get up. And then he writes, but all animals must work to survive. All animals contribute to their tribes or to their packs. They wake up and they have to hunt and they have to nurture and nourish each other and socialize and all of this. And he says sleep is imperative. We have to sleep. But we also have to work. We have to get up and so he says, get up and be ready to work every day. And this is the emperor. This is a man who probably wouldn't have to lift a finger for the rest of his time as emperor, or probably his life. And he says it's good to wake up and to work and to be ready to work, because all animals work, and it's natural, it's normal. So I wrote a following note. Marcus talks about the love dancers have for dancing and artists have for art. Oh yeah. So I think I guess part of the work that he's talking about, it's not don't kill yourself. He's talking about things that you're passionate about. I said work in this instance isn't mundane, but it's our passions. So get to work on your passions and get to work. Just get to work. But don't be a slave. But also slaves don't have a choice. This coffee's so good. Book 7. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Kevin Ho is now following. Thank you. Kevin, what's up? Kevin Ho. We're talking about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Book 5. I've already been going 35 minutes. It's awesome. I'll just keep going. Book 5. Book 7. Why are we afraid of change? Nothing could be accomplished without change. You could not take a bath without the wood undergoing change. So welcome change. That's a. Why are we afraid of change? Because change happens in all things and in all places. The wood must undergo change to be burned to create a bath. This is how you took a bath in 161 AD. Yep. Changes. My grandma always says the most consistent thing in life is change. That's a direct quote from the queen bee. And I know change is daunting, and what's funny is I think humans are inherently, well, what's true is we love routines. I love routines. I love getting into a good routine. I'm in an awesome routine right now. Waking up early, exercising before work, working, and then relaxing and writing and playing games after work. Spending more quality time with the people in my life. I've gotten rid of my social media stuff. I have made changes, but now I'm in a really good routine. And there are still things that happen. There are still things every day where I'm like, I can tweak this to make my routine better, or to be happier, or to be more successful, or to be healthier. And there like things like my I could clean up my dinners. My dinners still aren't perfect every night, and we have a lot of Halloween candy that I snack on all night. And I still have TikTok. I can't, I still have some social media, so I still find myself scrolling on social media. It happens way less than it used to, so it's a huge improvement. But every time I open social media, I'm like, I can just get rid of it entirely. So change. I think change is inherently hard, but correct change is good. I guess change with the right intention is thumbs up. Change with the right intention is thumbs up. That's what Marcus says. Why are we afraid of change? Book 8. Happiness comes from doing what nature requires. Okay, he went down a little chain right here, and I listened to this maybe a dozen times to catch everything that he said, because if someone talks about how to be happy, I want to make sure I get the note right. Kevin Ho says, me every day. Why change when everything is okay? That's actually a really good point. And that's exactly what I mean. So yeah, before I go into this book 8, that's a really good point. Because why change when everything is okay? I don't have an excellent reason why you should. Because especially in the world we live today, I think everything is, well, obviously we have more food than that has ever been available than before. The most clean water accessible for people. We have electricity. We have houses. We have clothes. We have cars. We have technology. We have so many good things, and part of, Kevin, you should go listen to. I don't know if you've listened to my other podcast, but you should go listen to one I did a couple months ago. Ooh, what was it called? It was by a lady. Oh, it's called "Do Nothing" by Celeste Headlee. It talks about how we've come into a world that is pretty much run by capitalism with innovation, and we're getting a bunch of really awesome gadgets like phones and computers. We get amazing innovation, and it's being shoved in our face, and we become consumers of all of these things. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just the world we live in. We are just massive consumers. I think the issue that comes from this is being too consumed in all of the things. We become too consumed in our technology, social media, video games, whatever your vices are, right? And you can be consumed in good things. Like I'm consumed in exercise. I'm consumed in doing yoga. But those being overly consumed in anything can be a negative. So why change when everything is okay? That's a really, really good question. I don't even know what the answer is, but I do know the best thing that we can do for ourselves is constantly seek improvement. Everything might be okay, but everything can always be better, and that will be an endless ladder to climb. So at some point, you need to find satisfaction in your routine or whatever, what have you. If you're happy, you should be happy, but you can always seek more happiness or whatever. Or I guess rather, if you're sad or if you have things that are hurting you or harming you, you should be able to recognize them and remove them from your life. So why change when everything is okay? I don't know. You probably don't. You probably don't. That's a really good question. And I don't even know if you were asking for my dialogue. I think you were just making the point. I appreciate it, but I think it's an excellent point. I think it's at least for me. I strive for improvement in all areas of my life. And if I notice something that is bringing me down, the small changes to improve those things is good. I also think part of what Marcus is saying is we are afraid of change in our environment, of things that change around us. Like a big change that we're all undergoing right now is the pandemic. Our norm changed from hanging out and doing whatever we did to a huge push for social distancing, masks, vaccines, huge changes. And we are, I think, just as animals, inherently uncomfortable with change. So learning to be okay with, like if your house burnt down or something tragic, it would be a really sucky thing, but change just happens. And then part of that kind of experience, part of that change, is learning how to be content with the events that occur and learning from them and potentially using them to work for your benefit. So yeah, maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way about introspective change, whereas Marcus is talking about outward change. That's a really good point. Learn to be content with the changes that occur in your life that are out of your control. A lot of things that happen to us are out of our control. And the best thing that we can do for ourselves is learn to be okay with it and potentially let it all work in our favor. Thanks for that comment, dude. Appreciate it. I'm going to move on. Book 8. Happiness comes from doing what nature requires. He says, so what do we do? Have principles which come from your emotions and actions. These principles are those that relate to good and bad. The belief that there is nothing good for you that does not make you just, temperate, or free, and that there is nothing bad which does not do the contrary. Okay, I'm going to read that again because it still kind of doesn't make sense to me. Happiness comes from doing what nature requires, which is have principles which come from your emotions and your actions. These principles are those that relate to good and bad, the belief that there is nothing good for you that does not make you just, temperate, or free, and that there is nothing bad which does not do the contrary. Mashed Potato says, I should learn to make good comments like Kevin Ho instead of trying to crack jokes in the chat. Yeah, dude. You just got shit on by Kevin Ho. He came here with some real insight. But you did also help me with vicissitude earlier. So you're doing all right. But you do crack a lot of jokes. Okay, this happiness doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but if I were to try to break it down, I would say if happiness comes from doing what nature requires, I would say all of the things that occur, all of the good things that occur in our life are what's natural. And I don't know, the first things that come to my head are reproducing and eating and exercising and socializing. I think those are human natural tendencies to reproduce, to socialize, to hunt and eat food back in the day. I don't know. So, and all of those things, all of those natural things are inherently good for us. I think that's what he's trying to say. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I did make a lot of notes for these last couple books, so I'm going to try to go through them quick. Holy crap, it's been 45 minutes. What have I been talking about this whole time? You do not have leisure and opportunity to read, but you have leisure and opportunity to check arrogance and to be superior to pain and pleasure. Now, you may not have access to material, to education, but you do have the opportunity to check your own arrogance and to be superior to your own pains and pleasures. That's all internal. You have control over yourself. You may not have access to all the information around you, but you have the ability to check your own arrogance, to say, I don't know, or to say, I need to learn more about this. Everything has a purpose. So what is your purpose? To enjoy pleasure? That's a quote. That's a direct quote. See if common sense will allow this. Pain is an evil to the body or to the soul, but the soul has the power to be at serenity through pain. This is another aspect that I took from Yoga Sutras, where when you achieve this state of true mindfulness, where you live in your mind, where you live in your soul, then your body just becomes a vessel for your soul. And when you live in your soul, when your mind is connected to your soul, you kind of become detached. And all the things that occur to your body don't happen to you as your soul. They just occur to your body. You become a witness to the events that are happening. So, the body may be harmed and the pain may be excruciating, but the soul has the ability to endure this pain. The soul will live on. The body may be in so much pain and die, but the soul will go on. It's another connection to Yoga Sutras. Let's see. Receive wealth and prosperity without arrogance, and you will be ready to part with them with equal composure. I think it's so awesome how someone in a position like Marcus is able to say something like this. Be ready, receive wealth and prosperity without arrogance, and you will be ready to part with them with equal composure. There are no virtues that oppose justice, but one does oppose pleasure, and that is temperance. Oh yeah, and I looked this up, and temperance in its modern use is defined as moderation or voluntary self-restraint. It is typically described in terms of what oh my goodness gracious. It is typically described in terms of what an individual voluntarily refrains from doing. This includes restraint from revenge, practicing nonviolence and forgiveness, restraint from arrogance. So all virtues, there are no virtues that oppose justice, but there is one that does oppose pleasure, and that one is temperance. Thought that was wise. All experiences that occur to humans are natural, good and bad, and to each other thing its proper nature. Like, you can't offend a stone. That's a note I made. So why should we Oh, I see. Yeah, all the things that occur to a human are natural to that human's environment. And all things that occur to a stone is natural to that stone's environment, or to any other animal or to any other thing. So our circumstances or our pains and pleasures don't necessarily translate to other things, to other objects, to other animals. Like to plants. Plants can't be offended, but humans get offended. So why should we complain about any event? Suffering from an event comes from our judgment of the event. Yeah, this is deep. Suffering from an event comes from our judgment of the event. If we can improve our critical thinking, our reasoning, and our judgment, our judgmental decisions, we can learn that all the events that occur to us, most of them are out of our control, and we can become wise enough to experience these things and to not let them affect us negatively. Kevin, the book is called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, if you came here late, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor in 161 AD, and he wrote in his journal all of these thoughts. And if you don't know much about me or this podcast, I read a bunch of books and I write down the things that inspire me the most and talk about them as best as I can through my stuttering and my coffee. So all of these thoughts are just him as an emperor or as a soon-to-be emperor, writing them into his journal, which later became published as Meditations. It's an awesome book, dude. Recommend. Okay. I'm going to keep going. Book 9, which is chapter 9. Each chapter is listed as book 1, book 2. I'm sure it might just be his different journal books. I don't know. Book 9. Let's see. He who assigns pleasure as good and pain as evil is guilty of impiety. If you wish to follow nature, should be of the same. Dude, I suck at making notes. If you wish to follow nature, you should be at the same mind with it. Again, I think that's all events occur to us. They are what they are, good and evil, good and bad. But we should not prescribe, or we should not assign pleasure as good and pain as bad. We should take all events that occur to us. And this is another, I'm going to say it. It's another connection to the Yoga Sutras. All the things that occur to us are just events. And we feel, because we're animals and we have chemical reactions to all the things that happen to us, we feel pleasure and we feel pain. And we chase pleasure and we run away from pain. Or we hide it, or we don't want pain. But pain is just a reaction, or it's just a reaction of our environment. So is pleasure. We eat yummy food, our brain is going off, but the food is actually nourishing to our bodies. And pain, when someone chops our hand off, sucks. We don't want people to chop our hands off because our hands are useful. But also, at the same time, pleasure can be abused, just like a sex addict or eating too much food. You can abuse the pleasure to become a vice. And then pain can be beneficial, like exercise. Exercise is breaking your muscles down, which is painful. It's hard. It's a hardship. Pain also looks like addressing or approaching your fears, because we want to naturally resist our fears. But most of us have the comfort of addressing our fears, like talking to a girl that you want to, or going to school, going to get a degree in something. So all pain and pleasure are not inherently good or bad. They're just events or processes of our chemical reactions in our brain. All people you meet are inherently friends, for the gods aid them in their journey as they do you. He says, if there is a God, all is well. And if chance rules, are you not also governed by it? Either there's a God either there's a God that's taking care of us, or there is no God, and we're all ruled by chance. But just because there is no God doesn't mean we have no freedom. That's a philosophical point. He says, if the gods have no power, why do you pray to them? If they do have power, why do you not pray for the faculty to have no fear, no desires, or be pained by anything? Why do you instead pray for these things to not happen at all, or to receive your desires? I'm guilty, probably my entire life as a Mormon, to pray for things to come my way, or to pray that things don't happen to me. But he says to do pretty much the exact opposite. Instead of praying for things not to happen or for things to happen, he says, pray for the ability to have no fear, the faculty to have no fear, or pray that to have no desires, or to not be pained by anything. That way, anything that will happen to us, because if there is a God, he has a plan, and things just are going to happen anyway, according to his will. So when these things happen, we should not have we should not be mad or sad that they occurred. We should instead look for the guidance to deal with these things. Pray for strength and pray for the faculty for no fear. Are you not content with doing right for the sake of doing right? Just as the eyes do not seek reward for seeing, or the feet for walking, do good, and you are behaving according to your own nature. That's book 9. Book 10, I made one note. We are made to bear everything we consider bearable. Good soup. Book 11. There's book 11 and book 12, and I'm done. It's been 57 minutes. It's crazy. Oh, that's good coffee. Okay. If you are wronged or offended, consider these 9 points. What is my relation to this person? Consider what kind of person they are at table, in bed, and how much they are under compulsion, under the opinions, and with what pride they have in their actions. That's point 2. Point 3, if they do right, we should be pleased. If they do not right, we should believe it is involuntary and under ignorance. Consider you do many things wrong as well. Consider you do not understand when someone is intentionally doing wrong or not. That's so true. 6, consider you are grieved that life is short, and we are all 4. Dude, I suck at making notes. Life is short, and we are all 4. Well, I don't even know what I was trying to say right there. So I'll just say point 6 is consider we are grieved and that life is short. 7, consider the acts don't disturb us. It is our opinions of these actions. Consider the actions don't disturb us. It is our opinions of the actions that do. And I said, to take away your opinions, understand no wrongdoing from another brings shame on you. No wrongdoing from another brings shame on you. It's true. When you are wronged, you're not directly shamed. It's your reaction to it. Point 8, consider how much more harm is done by responding with vexation or frustration or retaliation. And last point, consider a good disposition is invincible if it is genuine. And this makes me think of a story about Marcus, and I'll tell it briefly because I can't believe we're already at an hour. Marcus, being the emperor, was towards the end of his life, was wronged by one of his friends or by like a chief associate or something, someone high up in the government, and just like outright betrayal. Had gathered an army and was going to storm Rome or wherever Marcus was and take the throne from Marcus. And the word got back to Marcus, and Marcus says, capture him, but do not harm him. And eventually Marcus got the guy, and he says, I will have no harm done to him, and I have forgiven him, and we'll act as if this never happened, and this is good within me. But I think before that happened, he died from an assassination or something. But so Marcus was grieved because he never got to formally talk to this guy about the betrayal and to forgive him for it. Marcus was grieved because he couldn't forgive his friend who had outright betrayed him. This is the kind of character that this man was, and that's why this book is superb. Okay. Being moved by passion is not manly. Gentleness and mildness are more agreeable to human nature. And then book 12. Why do we put more value in others' opinions of ourselves than our own opinion of ourselves? No man is hindered by another. Everything is opinion. And then he ends the book with this. Either there is fate or kind providence or confusion without purpose. He says, if there is fate, why do we resist it? If there is kind providence, which I would take kind providence to be God or Mother Nature or just like a divine plan. If there is kind providence, make yourself worthy for their assistance. And if there is only confusion without purpose, be content that you have in yourself your governing intelligence. It's beautiful. All right. Overall principle or overall theme for the book, everyone's going to die. There's nothing we can do about it. Your name, and he says even for himself as the now it's kind of funny because his name is on a book, so his memory still lives, but Marcus isn't around. That being said, everyone dies and everyone is soon forgotten, and your influence or your power can only stretch so far until it is gone. Everyone dies. Either there's a God or there's not a God. In any case, we should accept the things that happen to us, and we should be in a strong disposition. What was that last point? Consider a good disposition is invincible if it is genuine against all the things that occur to us. Pain and pleasure are metaphors for our mind, and all events that occur are natural, and they all will serve us to some extent. It's our reaction to these events that determine whether they are good or bad for us. But being wronged or being betrayed is a natural. That's why that story, or why Marcus is so cool to me. He was wronged not because of anything he did, but he was betrayed by his friend, which is a natural event that occurs among humans. And he chose forgiveness and patience instead of retaliation or anger. It's a great book. That's all I got. That's all I got to say. That's where we're going to end it today. So, again, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This translation was by Gregory Hayes. I'm going to have to go through the introduction again and get my kind of wrap it all together. So, I'm going to take a little bit of a different direction for the next week's book. Just up another stem that we've gone before. I already know what we're going to do, but I don't want to spoil it. So please come back. If you'd like this podcast, you like the content, we do it live. Fuck it, we do it live. Mondays, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's live Spotify. It's live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and I think Buzzsprout hosts it live. And then I post it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And it's if it's not under Cadence Podcasts, it might be under Book Club. I don't know if the name changed with the picture, but I don't know. Or I don't know if I changed the name with the picture. So Cadence Podcast or Book Club. Kevin Ho, thanks for your awesome questions today. Thanks for showing up. Mashed potatoes, a real one from the beginning of time. Appreciate you guys. So yeah, why do we change? I don't know, but just accept the change that occurs around us, and try to use it as fuel to motivate you to do good for the rest of your life, for all of the decisions you make. I think the point is, accept the life that you live, the things that happen to you. That's what a Stoic does. Through suffering, through pain, they accept the events that occur to them. They use it as fuel, and they get through it, and they make good decisions. Gonna check out your stuff on Spotify. That's what I like to hear, man. All right, have a good week, everyone. Next week we'll be here, and if you want to reach out, you could message me on the stream, but you can find me on Instagram or Twitter. They're right. I put them right here for you, baby. So, all right, have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.
読み直しているで読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直しているで読み直